Friends, have you ever wondered how a single failure can completely erase a person's name from history, even if that person might have been a genius? Imagine, you are a talented engineer, your country is occupied, you flee across half of Europe, you try to start from scratch in a foreign land, and in the end, your life's work not only fails but is forgotten and the credit is given to someone else. Sounds like a nightmare, doesn't it? This is a true story. A story about a shadow, a patent, and a pistol that could have changed everything. If you, like me, are fascinated by destinies lost in the whirlwind of history, stay right here. This story will pull you in headfirst. And you know what? Be sure to write in the comments. Have you ever encountered such unjust twists of fate? And now let's dive in. The Pistols of Teofil Tarnowski. When simplicity is not a virtue, but a sentence. If I were tasked with compiling a list of the unluckiest inventors in the history of firearms, the Pole Teofil Tarnowski would occupy one of the most prominent and simultaneously the saddest places on it. Imagine. You spend your whole life designing, dreaming, working tirelessly, and in the end, for posterity, you remain the author of a single pistol, which the army rejected with contempt. But that's not all. The laurels, or rather what little remains of them, go to another person. Your name is erased. Your labor dissolves in someone else's patents. This is not just a failure, it is a personal tragedy against the backdrop of a world catastrophe. And its roots run deep into politics, economics, and the cruel course of history. Let's transport ourselves to September of 1939. Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union are crushing Poland. The world is collapsing. A great exodus begins. Among those leaving their burning homeland in panic and hope are the government, the military, the intelligentsia, engineers. They head for Great Britain, believing in the strength of the Anglo-Polish alliance. But it soon becomes clear, this alliance is largely a fiction. Britain promised help but was unable or unwilling to provide it in time. Polish soldiers and officers would go on to fight heroically in the Battle of Britain, at Monte Cassino, but the attitude towards them on the island was a complex mixture of respect, gratitude, and condescending superiority. They were refugees, guests, second-class people in a foreign land. Now put yourself in the shoes of a Polish weapons engineer. You are a top-tier specialist. You think in the metric system, your blueprints are precise down to the micron. And here, inches, pounds, completely different production standards, a foreign language you know at best at a survival level. Your skills? They are needed, but not enough to trust you with leading projects. You are forced to settle for the role of an extra, an assistant, that strange Pole in the corner. This is precisely the situation our second hero found himself in, Zygmunt Stanislaw de Lubicz-Bakanowski. Yes, an aristocrat with a D in his name, a former captain of the Uhlan Regiment. In Britain, he found shelter in a modest firm, the Swift Rifle Company, which specialized in training rifles for the army. Not the most cutting-edge field, you'll agree. And here the story becomes as dark and murky as a London fog. Somewhere in this maelstrom of emigrant life, the paths of Bakanowski and Teofil Tarnowski crossed. We don't know exactly how they came to an agreement. Was it friendship? Was it Tarnowski's desperation, wanting to promote his design at any cost? Or was it Bakanowski's business acumen, having integrated better into the British system? The fact remains, patents in Great Britain for Tarnowski's weapons were filed by Bakanowski in his own name. And this is the key moment of the whole story. It is precisely because of this that in many catalogs and reference books, the author of the T-TAR and TRN pistols is still listed as Bakanowski. But the metal does not lie. On the slides of these pistols is a screaming marking, TRN and TTAR, a direct reference to Tarnowski. Moreover, British museums hold a submachine gun with the exact same marking, created by Tarnowski back in pre-war Warsaw. So who is the real author? The answer is obvious, but the historical injustice had already been done. Let's figure out what this weapon was. Tarnowski's design philosophy was a hymn to simplicity. His pistol was a study in minimalism. A concealed hammer, a simple blowback action, meaning the slide is not locked to the barrel at the moment of firing. For a police or pocket pistol chambered for the low-powered 7.65mm cartridge, the famous .32 ACP, It was an ideal solution. Such a cartridge doesn't require complex mechanics. And the first version, the T-TAR, was just that. A workhorse. But the times dictated different rules. World War II was raging. The standard NATO, or rather, the primary pistol and submachine gun cartridge, was becoming the powerful 9mm Parabellum, 9x19. The Army needed a pistol for it. And Tarnowski, trying to please the customer, took the path of least resistance in terms of design. He decided not to change the scheme but simply to reinforce his old, reliable design. This is where the problems began. A simple blowback action for a 9x19 cartridge is a challenge to the laws of physics. The powerful cartridge tries to tear the slide from the shooter's hands even before the bullet leaves the barrel. To prevent this, the slide must be made very heavy, and the recoil spring incredibly stiff. Tarnowski did just that. His slide for the TRN consisted of two parts held together by a screw and weighed like a cast iron weight. And the spring, oh, that spring! Imagine, even when the pistol is assembled and ready to fire, this spring is compressed by more than 10 centimeters from its free length. It is in a state of constant, monstrous tension. Assembling or disassembling such a pistol in the field is a task for a strongman and a masochist. An interesting historical parallel. In those very same years, another Polish emigrant, Marian Jurek, working for the giant Webley and Scott, was struggling with the exact same engineering problem. Two brilliant Poles, by the will of fate thrown into England, independently ran into the same wall, trying to adapt a simple design to an unsuitable cartridge. This shows that the problem was systemic. Emigrants were given a chance, but often on deliberately losing terms. And now comes the climax, the spring of 1945. The war is nearing its end. The TRN pistol is sent for official army trials. And it returns with a verdict written in blood. Fortunately, not literally. The tester's report is a document of devastating frankness. I can imagine Tarnowski reading it, his heart breaking. What was in it? Poor quality of manufacture, parts are crudely machined. There is play. Mediocre accuracy, you can hit somewhere on the target, but forget about precision. Horribly inconvenient disassembly because of that superspring. Strong, unpleasant recoil that punishes the wrist. The sights, simply a mockery. A single groove along the slide along which you had to catch the target. And the most terrible thing, the destruction of the pins holding the barrel in the frame. The pistol literally began to fall apart after a few dozen rounds. The testers, not wanting to push it to a catastrophic failure, stopped the tests. The verdict was final. The design is derivative, inconvenient, unreliable, and of no interest. Why was the failure so total? Here we need to include economic and historical analysis. Spring, 1945. Germany is in its final months. British industry, which had been working at a breakneck pace for 3 years, is beginning to transition to a peacetime footing. The army no longer needs vast quantities of cheap, expendable weapons. Now it needs high-quality, reliable, proven models for the post-war army. Against this backdrop, Tarnowski's pistol, with its cottage industry appearance, looked like an anachronism. Britain made its choice, the famous Browning high power, which was adopted as the L9 pistol. It was evolution refined over the years. The TRN project was a dead-end branch. What happened to Teofil Tarnowski? History is silent on this. It seems that after such a blow, he never returned to designing weapons. His name sank into oblivion. All that remains of his work are just 3 known surviving prototypes of the 9mm TRN. 3 silent witnesses to someone's broken dream. They sit in museums, and rare visitors, running past, ponder the drama behind this crude piece of steel. So what is the moral of this story? It is not only about weapons. It is about how important it is to be in the right place at the right time. About how cruel circumstances can be to talent. About how patent law and someone else's signature can steal a person's greatest achievement. Teofil Tarnowski was not untalented. He was a man caught in the grinding wheels of history. He tried to adapt, to survive, to be useful. But his simplicity, which was initially a virtue, became his curse under the new conditions. This story makes you think, how many such Tarnowskis have there been in history? How many brilliant ideas drowned in bureaucracy, in wars, in misunderstanding? We will never know. But we can remember this one story. Friends, if this story gripped you as much as it did me, if you are interested in these lost pages of history where the fates of individuals intertwine with the fates of entire nations, let's continue this conversation. Write in the comments. What do you think? Did Tarnowski have the slightest chance of success, or was his failure predetermined? What other unjust stories from the world of inventions do you know? And, of course, subscribe to the channel. Here we regularly bring to light such amazing, forgotten, and dramatic stories. There are many more discoveries ahead. I promise you won't regret staying with us. Let's preserve memory together.